This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
Okay, so
Oh, I feel so much more comfortable in the Zoom format.
Boy,
Yeah.
I know.
okay,
It
Okay.
works a lot better.
this is the October 6th, 2022 Easthampton Community Garden monthly meeting. Present at the start of the meeting is myself, Stephen Linsky, the clerk, and Frank Johnson, Mark Leonis, Louise P. I'm going with Louise here
Ted.
just because I think we have to have at least one woman present.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Ah, how
and you're,
interesting.
well, by my rule, and you're a little beat up there, Ted, so we'll call it Ted and Louise. Our treasurer and Eric Sielka, external person. We had difficulties with Google Group this time. It wasn't accessible, unfortunately, so it has delayed us. The time is now 7:34 at the convening of this meeting, but we shall proceed with the members. Everyone should have gotten a copy of the agenda.
Yep.
And everyone should also have the minutes from the last meeting and Stock's treasurer's report. So hopefully we all have that and we can proceed here. We start as always with public speak. Again, I don't see anyone who is from the public and not part of the garden committee, so we will move ahead in that regard and proceed to the rest of our agenda, which brings us to public comment. Excuse me, we already did the comment. That's the public comment we just did, and acceptance of the minutes. So should I post the minutes, or did everyone have an opportunity to look at the minutes?
I did not. So
If you can just post it for 1 second,
For 1
Yeah.
second,
Right.
yeah, or 2 seconds.
Maybe two, maybe
2
three.
seconds. All right, hold on. Hold on 1 second here.
Somehow your original notice went into my trash and I didn't trash it. So it's,
How serious.
I sent it 3 times, so hopefully one of them made it to you.
don't believe me, I clicked on all of them, trying to get into the Google
Neat.
yeah.
zone.
The Google zone.
Whatever.
Okay, so let me try getting my thing up here. Okay, minutes.
I'll be right back. I'm gonna go up and grab a folder, a garden folder. I'll be right back.
I'm going to scroll down so people get to see the minutes.
Great.
There is a link you see there. I did check again today. So the recording of the last meeting actually did make it to the Easthampton media page that they have the recordings on YouTube.
Okay.
So I will repost that so anyone can look. Only the folks who were present at the last meeting, which and present tonight's meeting, being Eric, Ted, Mark, and Frank, and myself, can vote on adoption of these minutes. I'll wait for Frank to come back to vote.
Yeah, I just don't know if it is toward the end there, but in terms of the Tractor Supply,
Yes.
we agreed to open a PO for $300. And that's, I'm not seeing that anymore.
Okay, I can add it here.
I'll just submit that.
Yeah, I'm not kidding. Keep an eye on the dog. Close that door, please.
Okay, Frank, you here?
Yeah, I'm there.
Yeah, all right, so Mark made a recommendation that the
Ted
minutes
did.
should reflect the fact that we had voted to open a PO for Tractor Supply in the amount of $300. So
Mhm.
I've amended the minutes to reflect that.
Okay.
And are there any other proposed amendments? Hearing none, is there a motion to, Eric's coming in, but let's let him vote. Eric, can you hear us?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, so we just amended the minutes to include reference to opening a PO in the amount of $300 for Tractor Supply. So I've amended the minutes as such. Do you have any other motion to amend the minutes, Eric?
Nope. no
Okay,
problem.
so is there a motion to adopt the minutes as amended?
So moved.
Second,
Okay.
Second.
Let's move Frank. Ted. Okay, all in favor of adopting the minutes as amended?
Aye.
aye.
Opposed? Okay, the record should reflect that the minutes were adopted unanimously. So, I will now get this off of our thing here. And save it as amended. And okay. Okey-dokey.
Well done.
Moving on. Bear with me one second. Adopted that. We have the treasurer's report.
Okay.
And return to Ted Stock for that. Should I post the treasurer's report? Yes, people want to see it?
I've seen it already, but go ahead if others they want to look at it.
Not a bad idea.
All right.
It's always good to see money.
See it come, see it go.
Coming and going.
Keeps coming and coming. Give me 1 second here. Okie dokie. So let's see. And here it is. Ted, you want to give your
Okay.
report? While we're gonna-
Yeah, not a lot happens during the summer months in terms of expenditures. I think the expenditure with Fleury Outdoor was probably the repairs or something with the weed whackers.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And then Sarah had been asked to post signs and I guess get them laminated or something. So the petty cash expenditure, I reimbursed her for her cost for doing that.
Okay.
And essentially that's it. The only thing I would mention about our purchase order, just for the record, when I asked to open up the PO with Tractor Supply, apparently the city already has 2 accounts with them. The one with the school district and one with the Department of Parks and Rec. And so basically, we're going to be under Parks and Rec for purposes. So if somebody goes there and makes a purchase, have it put under Parks and Rec account, and we will, and Barbara's aware of this, and just get the receipts as usual, and we'll make sure that Parks and Rec is not charged, and that the community garden is charged with that amount. But rather than go through the whole process of opening up a whole separate third account, they said we should just tag on to Parks and Rec.
Sounds good.
Definitely not the school system.
Hey, they need hoses too.
They probably do.
Yeah. Well, there was some expense that they said, oh, well, maybe the community garden purchased some things. We have an unpaid bill from back in June. I said, oh, we were only authorized as of September 6th or whatever it was. So,
Yeah, right.
Good job,
so
Ted.
I said, you guys got to find that one yourself. So,
Yeah, right.
Some teacher bought chicken feed.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Start a rumor.
So that's
Okay.
it. Any questions?
Ted, could you be kind enough to repeat? You mentioned that you paid Sarah out of petty cash. What was that for again?
That was for some type of signage that she was putting up. I forget what we
yes,
asked her to do
Yeah, it was
Maybe-
just
Yeah,
at
okay.
at the
for
garden.
doing community service.
Right.
Yeah, that's probably it.
Yeah, which was good.
I think next time we should pay for some nails for her instead of those thumbtacks, because they never
Right,
work.
right.
I've been going around nailing. I got to do. I'm going to do some more tomorrow if I see him on the ground.
I think nails with washers. The wind, people don't understand how windy it gets up there sometimes.
Yeah, I know the tax.
Yes.
Forget about it.
Really windy. I have found cardboard from people's gardens 300 yards across the street in the orchard, way in the back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a motion to adopt the treasurer's report?
So moved.
Second,
Second,
Mark seconds. Okay. All in favor of adopting the treasurer's report indicate by aye.
aye.
Anyone opposed? Treasurer's report is adopted unanimously. Thank you again, Ted. All right, we'll stop sharing that. Okay, we move on to operations. Now, my suggestion as we start on this, but I'm open to suggestion, I should say, is that, we've had some things going back and forth, particularly recently on a variety of things. I don't know whether you, Frank, whether you want to include that in your report or whether we put it more toward the end of the agenda where you'll have to garden
I think
feedback.
we can include it now. I think we can include it now.
Okay,
Yeah, because there's a lot, I'll start with the thistle because it seems to be in every meeting. It's so invasive. So, Alyssa had brought up the idea of just closing down that whole quadrant of C1, C2, D1, D2. We haven't been in touch with Olivia, and Alyssa had sent an email out because she thought she wasn't going to be able to make the meeting, and she had spoken with Susan in Greenleaf, and because Susan and Sarah, their mother-daughter, in C1, and they were talking about fighting thistle all year. And there are 2 plots. I had mentioned this, or this is in the email string outside of anything necessarily official, but I had mentioned 2 plots are opening up in row B. And if we hear from Olivia, and if Susan and Sarah are amenable to moving, we can shut that whole quadrant down and basically put it to sleep, until we can figure out how we're going to deal with that thistle. But we got to kill that stuff off. And so if they'll move, it just means we're going to lose 4 plots. So we would be down to 36 plots at that point available. So that's something that we need to think about. But I think it's a good idea. I just want to make sure that the gardeners and the 2 plots that are open are actually, they're good plots.
Yeah.
And people could, they're I'm looking at the map right now. B5 and B6. So they need a little bit of work. One needs more work than the other, but I know those plots, they get good sun, they drain well.
Well, we probably have more than just those 2.
Well, there's probably going to be a couple more. There's that,
Yeah.
Next to Ted, there's a half plot that's already open.
Right. Yeah.
And, C12 is open, but that plot
Yes.
actually is going to need some help. It's the previous owners, I would say, degraded it.
So I saw Olivia recently when I was last at the garden. I'm not speaking for her. My impression was, though, that she seemed very good with her plot. I mean, I think she thought she's had a really good season.
Yep.
So she seemed very happy. That doesn't necessarily mean that she'd be opposed to moving one, but I thought I at least would mention that. I don't know about Susan, but let me ask the question in terms of what we're looking to do, which is eradicate the thistle as best as possible. Is that compromised if we aren't able to close down
the whole thing?
Olivia and or Susan, or not necessarily?
I don't necessarily think so. I just think it's something that, again, we'll have to talk to Olivia. And that's would need it's not immediate because the other plots are there, and I think until we know how those 2 gardeners feel about it in C1 and D2, then I think we we don't open those plots up to anybody else. Like if somebody came in late, like we've done, they go, oh, well, I'll clean it up if I can have it for next year. I think we kind of hold off till we hear from them and know what they think. Because if she's good with that, with her plot, there's kind of some crazy extreme mitigations. It's just, this stuff's probably not going to go away unless she's on top of it constantly. I mean, I still found little thistles growing in my garden.
Oh, me too.
Within 5 days ago. And they're not established. I got them out and everything.
Yep.
But
it's just
they're
keeping
growing,
ahead of them.
and because they're growing across the street. I'll talk about that later with you unofficially, because it's somebody else's property. But I've seen a patch of it growing somewhere else. So it's around. and I let that person know, and they're able to do some things with it that we're not. So I'll leave it at that. We'll talk off the record later.
Somebody
So-
had somebody had mentioned the possibility of maybe just mandating them to be raised bed gardens or extremely raised bed gardens.
Yeah, and that was something that was brought up in another email string, was that we just really put them to sleep.
Yeah.
And just make them like those would be the accessible gardens.
Yeah.
And
Or do you think that putting them in bags like mine, not that they worked that great for me this year, but they have worked at other places. But
oh
do you
yeah,
think
no,
something like that with a closed bottom bag could work as a solution?
I think when we're talking about accessibility, then the ADA, there's going to be ADA things that may come into place, and those might not be high enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't know, because I think,
But if they don't go to an ADA, could we mandate that whoever goes into that spot needs to use, raised containers, crate containers, or something like that?
yeah, I
Rather than
mean,
just shutting them down completely, because it seems like a waste of real estate to do nothing.
I agree. Eric, I think that's a really good point. If we're basically shutting the floor down, but not the high rise. Let's put it that way. So, no, I think it's a really good solution to that, to where we can keep them, viable, and that would be. Then we'll need a PO with Flurry lumber.
Yeah.
Well, I would question whether we'll ever really get rid of thistle. I think
Yeah,
that
Mark.
all these measures are good, but I just have a feeling it's going to be with us in some form indefinitely. That's my guess.
I would agree with that, and it's going to be part of your orientation as a new gardener.
Right.
But
Right.
if we're talking about special needs,
Yeah.
I'm sure those people are not going to be able to deal on a regular basis with the thistle problem.
Well, that would be something where we would probably, and I just mentioned that, but I think Eric's idea is it puts a spin on that, because they don't necessarily have to be ADA accessible. They're just a different style of gardening. And then we try and still make the gardens, even if this is viable, because we have there's a whole project going on now, which that's a whole other thing, with Bendu coming up, from the Conway School. And I don't know, I think we're going to have to try and figure out if our whole garden area is even really realistically accessible.
Yeah.
And how that's going to be. But in the meantime, getting back to Eric's point, I think if we have those plots and we turn them into something, just a different style of gardening, that are like raised beds on steroids or something, where we do put the floor of that thing to sleep, then that could be an interesting alternative. I like that idea, at least to think about it, but we gotta shut that down, because of thistle. Because if there's corridors from the quadrant, and I don't know, again, if Olivia is going to want to move, because she wants to fight the good fight. Okay, that's fine. But we can shut everything else down. And according to the extension at UMass, you have to go down 6 feet to stop this stuff.
Yeah, that's never going to happen.
So if we dug down 6 feet and put gravel and sand and poured a gallon of vinegar down the line of it, we could probably kill the crap off. But it's tough, man. But I mean, if we're mowing, it's not going to get outside the borders where we mow anyway. So then there's just one other way it can go. And that's towards the next plot's over. So it's just gonna be part of being up there until we figure this out.
That's what I think.
It's not easy. It's not gonna be easy.
Just gotta, you gotta stick with it.
Yes.
Yeah, and then we have we have the city has brought in. I'm sorry, I'm a little. I've just been. Did 12 hours of manual labor, so my head's a little off. So now, Stephen and I and Eric, you were there. We met. The city came up. Everything kind of came up at the last minute. Because they're working with the Echodale property next door, the old orchard. And so then they threw us into the mix in terms of planning like some future ideas for that whole area. And I didn't know anything about it. And then I was driving by the garden, going up to the orchard to I don't know, I think I was going to walk the dog or something. And I saw somebody there with a clipboard walking around. So I'm like, huh, that's interesting. And so I went back and I introduced myself to Bendu, who was there, and she's from the Conway School, and this is a project of hers. So I took her on a tour for like an hour, just an impromptu tour. And so then we all started emailing. It's like, boy, we really wish we would have known about this sooner. Even when it was just in its infancy, like a conversation, it would have been like, okay, we're having a conversation about this. We should probably include the garden. So, so then we met with the city planners, and Stephen, you chime in, please, at any point, or Eric. It's more of a plan / recommendation than it is any kind of a mandate or anything. So, and then we had our 2 cents, and then, yeah. And I think your point was good, Stephen, but the trail thing is different than us. I don't want to get into the other part of it. Let's just stick with us. But one thing that I kind of had an afterthought at the end of the meeting was we kind of need to resurvey all the plots, and those Conway students survey. That's part of what they learn at that school. And so that would be really cool if we could get the boundaries for each individual plot kind of remarcated. I don't know if that's a word, but I'm making it up now.
That's a good one.
It's gotta be.
It isn't true, it should be.
Redemarcated. We used to prefix it. But I think it'd be if they'll do it, I think it'd be great, because things have drifted around. I mean, it's been 10 years since the original boundaries were made. So it'd be good to kind of reestablish all that again. That's an interesting kind of something that fell in our lap. So we'll see where it goes. I'm intrigued to see what the final recommendation and project looks like. Stephen, did I leave anything out?
You didn't. There's a lot of this whole thing has caused a lot of interest. But just to remind people rather, from our end, this all started with going to the city about potential accessibility.
Yeah.
For we have people. I mean, that was the start of that. Okay, and that was last year, and then basically. It kind of got very quiet on that front. And for our part, we didn't have anyone making a request this year to have accessibility. But we have always recognized that once we had that request last year, that it's a really good thing to do, and we should plan on that because we will face it. In any event, then I think independently is when this whole thing that you were describing, Frank, about Echodale and the larger plan and the idea of trails. And so we have coordinated now with the city to the planning department to talk about it. I think the way they view it, at least initially, is that we may be able to achieve the accessibility for our garden through a larger plan that includes, accessibility in the sense that it's bringing people into nature, not necessarily accommodating, in the way that we were looking at it, like an ADA way. and so in their minds, there may be monies that could come from a grant for the larger project, which includes trails, etc., that could be used for the purposes that we've come to them for, which is just the accessibility. I think we tried to be clear that that's all that we were talking about. We're not part of anything else, and that's not why we came to them. So anyway, the next thing that will happen, I think, is that the Conway School, and it was a good thing that you were there, Frank, to meet with her, because
Mhm. And she's
Well, yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
She's really cool.
yeah,
man.
so she's gonna put out something, and it will include a lot of thoughts, and it should. Some may be, on the creative side. That's how these projects should start that way, and then you narrow it down. So I think that we will get something that we can respond to, and I just hope that people don't get very reactive, and they understand that, this is, we're trying to achieve our accessibility, for which we do not have a ready answer, right?
No, that's why we were looking for some
Yeah.
outside.
So yes, that's
perspective.
exactly why we wanted to bring this to the city in the first place. So anyway, so we've made some progress, and that's obviously going to continue, throughout the winter. So I'm hoping that people will stay involved even between seasons here.
Yeah, I think, and this was a concern with some of the other people on the committee, and even some gardeners, casually speaking, was that there needs, whatever happens with the property next door, there needs to be some sort of division or demarcation.
Yeah.
And probably I would say signage. And there may be discussion of like bathroom facilities or something, or at some point. If we're just gonna have a place with trails where people can go, I don't know. I'm trying to think of any other trail around here in the valley where I go where there's a bathroom. So I don't know if I really want to invite that, but that's a discussion. That's something we can think about.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, Frank, what else you got for your?
Mark and I have been talking about hoses, and I'm gonna be out of the country for a couple of weeks. So when I'm back, that's something, even if we pull all the hoses, we can at least figure out which ones we can hold on to, and then we can get rid of the rest. We have our PO, we can go and spend some money now at Tractor Supply, get the hoses that we want.
That's great.
And so, and I don't know how much luck we're gonna have with them even getting good nozzles. It just seems like most of them are trash. They last a season or whatever, and if we get 2 seasons out of them, good for us. So that's something to still work on. I think the biggest thing, I'm gonna jump on the number of things. We have a cleanup day, and kind of putting the gardens away day here in October. And I'm back in the country on the 21st, the 22nd. I don't even want to think about this. It's probably the best day, but we need to do it on either the Saturday, the 22nd. I'm looking over the calendar, or the 29th. Where we put all the hoses away, the ones we want, and kind of tools and everything else. Probably need to get another mow. We will need to get another mow in.
Hey, Frank, I got a question on tools. Is at some point, do you think some of us, I would certainly volunteer to kind of assess what tools we have that are still functional and which ones need to either be repaired or discarded? What do you think?
Functional, repaired, and replaced, I think is a really good.
Yeah, because there's a lot of crap in the shed that is just sitting around. It either needs to be repaired or discarded.
Yeah. No, I agree, Mark.
I'll be happy to help with that.
Okay. And if I can, before I leave this weekend, I'm gonna email a couple people who have mowed, Cheryl and Steve, and see if they'll mow while I'm out of town. Just-
Okay. When you
Just to
do,
knock it down.
it would be good to know if one of them or somebody could give me a hand getting the mower started, because I need to mow part of the donation garden.
Okay. I may be up there Saturday, so if I am, I'll text you and let you know.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'm pretty free on set
Yeah,
most of
'cause I
Saturday.
gotta grab some stuff because we're gonna freeze. We're gonna freeze before I get back, probably.
Yeah,
Yeah.
gotta get those beans.
Yep. Well, the beans, as long as the pods are dry, it doesn't matter. I'm more worried about the peppers, to tell you the truth.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, they're more
Yeah.
fragile.
Yep.
Great.
I'm looking at my list. Oh yeah. Two other things. We need to know when the city when they want to cut the water off. And I don't think after all that rain that anybody's gonna need to water anything. That was a lot of rain. That was a good rain. But once they cut the water off, then we've got, because I think they take the piece out of the pump house. And then we need to get a hold of Broadbrook. I don't know if they need to come up. No, this water's cut off, I think, and then they purge the lines. Because they have to purge the water lines to get the water out so nothing splits in the wintertime.
Right.
And we have the money in the budget. I saw it.
Yeah, it's a line item, right?
It is. There's 300 and some odd dollars in there.
Yep.
I'm looking at $365.
Just sitting there.
Well, it won't be for long. Yeah, because that's got to get purged. So that's I think that's all I got.
Well,
When do they,
yeah, go
That's a
ahead.
lot. Holy crap.
when do they usually purge it, Frank?
What's that?
When do they usually purge the line?
Usually towards the end of October.
Okay, I would suggest we keep the water until then in case for their cleanup day, we need to do some washing down of things. Just crossed my mind. Because once the water's gone, there's no other way to.
Oh yeah, no, we would have to wash everything in the spring because
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll check with them and see if it's normally not October.
oh yeah, okay.
Normally, I think it's been later. I could be wrong, but that's Sarah's joining us. Hi, Sarah.
Hey.
hey, Sarah.
Hello, Sarah.
I'm glad you got the thing. Yeah, we had some problems with Google Group, so that's why we're
Nice.
back to Zoom.
Nice.
I got to get that straightened out with the city again. Oh, we.
What do you want Zoom?
We want Zoom.
Yes.
Frank, before we end your report, should we not select a date? Does it make sense, for instance, to aim for the 22nd for a closeout date? So just so that if we need anything in addition, we've got maybe the 29th or something.
Yeah, because you need to have a rain date.
So is that okay?
Yeah, 22nd.
Okay,
I think it's a good day.
so noted. Okay. So we move on to outreach. Margie's not here, so much for internal outreach, but Eric is here. Any updates on external outreach, Eric?
Just posted to let people know about the upcoming frost. That was it. Margie posted some stuff that was about how to shut down your garden for the winter. That was pretty good. I fell behind got behind the ball on that one and didn't echo that or find any good articles to post on the Facebook, but there's still time.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's still weeds growing, man.
I know.
They're gonna
warm today.
grow.
Well, you got
There's
rain.
gonna be
you
a
gotta get-
frost, and there's gonna be weeds that the frost doesn't kill. It's just like,
Yeah.
Okay, donation garden, Mark.
Yes, yes. We continue to have pretty good stuff to donate to the community center. Autumn is continuing to help out with that, which has been great. But I think we're kind of approaching the end. I mean, I harvest stuff from the donation garden and stuff from my own garden and whatever anybody else donates. But I think those amounts are shrinking. I'm guessing maybe we should maybe cut it off either this coming week or the week after, just so Autumn doesn't have to keep showing up on Monday morning to gather everything. So if there's support for that, and if people still want to drop off, if they have stuff they want to drop off, we can tell them how to do it. They can do it independently. They don't need to wait for Autumn. So
Well-
that's my thought.
Well, I communicate back to Autumn. I haven't heard from her, but as of at least last week, no, actually the past 2 weeks, so pretty much since the end of last month, I've been available to help her. I noticed, for instance, that one of the coolers there seems to be missing. Does anyone know?
I noticed that too, Stephen. I wondered if she had just had to take it in one time and was using it. I couldn't, I
Yeah.
don't know.
But so I didn't see anything that may have been taken in last Monday. The
Oh, there
previous-
was,
was.
there was, because I loaded it up on Sunday.
Oh, you did? Okay, so she must have, okay, so it was
She come-
probably in that cooler and she probably took it. That's probably
Yeah.
what happened.
Yeah, she comes at 8 in the morning usually on
Yeah.
Mondays. She's there quite
And I
early.
only made that comment because I delivered some of the peppers that we got donated by Laura and then see that. Okay, so have we been tracking what we've been donating at all, Mark?
I don't know. That's Autumn. I think she was trying to, but I don't think there's any format for
Yeah.
what we're supposed to be doing. You kind of handled that when you were doing it, but I don't
Yeah,
know that.
all right, that kind of fell by the wayside. Yeah, well, I think it's always good to,
Well,
be
there needs to
able
be,
to
there needs to,
demonstrate
there needs to be an established procedure that gets passed on from one person to another. I think otherwise people aren't
Yeah.
going to know what to do.
yeah. Well, we have in our drive, in our Google Drive, we do have a donation thing. It's okay. We'll get back to that.
Yeah, well, it's okay as long as people are made aware of
As
what
long
it
as
is
people
and what
know
they
about,
should.
yeah. I get
Yeah,
it.
exactly. That's
Okay.
the
All
issue.
right.
So yeah, we're winding down and we just need to finish closing down the garden. I've had some volunteers from Linnea Lagerstrom, I hope I'm pronouncing her name, and Caitlin Carmody. So we've had a little bit of help, which has been nice. And then hopefully we'll do some more this weekend. And Frank can coach me on how to mow down the big area where we had the squash, and we can maybe cover that up for the winter. I'm not sure what we'll do, but that's the plan anyway.
Mark, do you think that you'll have more donations for this coming week?
Yes, there's a few things left. There's some kale in the donation garden. I have some kale to give, and there may be some other items. It'd probably be, it's smaller and smaller all the time. But,
Okay, all right, that's good.
but that's
all
what
right,
I'm thinking. Maybe this coming week could be the last week, and we can send out I can ask Margie if she'll help send out a note to alert people if they want to donate, and what the procedure would be going forward. Because again, I don't think we should make Autumn having to make these visits every Monday if nobody's dropping anything off. I don't think that's entirely fair.
Yeah, okay. Okay, great. Thank you for the report.
Sure.
Well, I don't know, Karen's not here for the pollinator report. However, since we did discuss it, I don't know, Sarah, since you posed this as an idea, we had a little update for folks about the meeting that we had with the city. About the trails, whatever. But part of that is also pollinator pathways, et cetera. And so Sarah had raised that we have, we have more capacity on site, to do more on the pollinator end that we have done. And I guess the question is, perhaps if we think we have that and there's an interest about whether or not we should kind of communicate that to the city so they can accommodate that in their planning if they're thinking about, including pollinator stuff outside of our property. But Karen's not here, but she did send an email. Did everyone see Karen's email?
Yeah, I read it.
Yeah.
There was a lot of email. I don't remember some of the detail from it though.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get it up here. Well, I think I'm looking at one of them. She included a copy of the trust. I don't know, should I post this so people can kind of see it? Or
I don't know. I mean, I think unless people want to talk more about the trust stuff, I don't know if we need to
we have
post
to
it,
do it
but
now. Okay. Well, she wanted it mentioned for the purpose.
oh, that's right. She did too.
So, I mean, well, I don't disagree with you, Sarah. I mean, we got plenty of time to discuss it. And maybe if we don't pick it up at our next meeting, then, we can pick it up thereafter. So I'll just include reference in our minutes here about this. Which actually kind of fits into the gardener feedback, because that's kind of what she was doing. Does anyone else want to anything for the record about feedback from either yourself as a gardener or other gardeners?
About the planning,
About
sorry,
anything, yeah,
about anything.
yeah. General feedback.
General feedback. I guess I'd love to talk about, maybe this is more of a committee thing, but I'd be curious to talk about, as a committee, how we reflect on how we've run or chosen people who took on leadership positions, like how they've done them, and I don't know, I could talk about how it's oh, I wanted to try to fix up the beds this year and I've done it, not accomplish all my goals in the way I wanted to, or if there's a way for us to talk about reflecting on the projects we were doing this year. Because I guess I just want to ask Karen about the pollinator garden a little bit. The past 2 years she's been running it, and it's not really there's work that's gone into it, but it's not been very consistent. And maybe her goals for next year, things like that. And that might be, and same with, some of the other stuff, Mark's been talking about wanting to change his role with the community or the donation garden, and then who might take it over and what things they could learn from. I don't know if that's you guys usually have a conversation like that every year, but could be cool to integrate that. Maybe in the last meeting. I don't know if this one is supposed to be the last meeting or not, but
No, we got one more.
okay, cool. Because that could be part of that. And then if other gardeners come, they could say maybe invite them to say their input to oh, I wished I would have been more involved in this had I understood this part of it or something. But
Yeah, to create, I hear you, Sarah, just to create more of a continuity.
Yeah.
No.
Or an accountability with ourselves, too.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So it's good you raised that, Sarah, because, there have been some discussions earlier. And I think, so there is one more meeting, our November meeting. By that point, the garden pretty much will be closed. We would have closed down already. So there's a wrap to the season. But what we did talk about, what we would accomplish at this meeting is to try to get our business end together so that we're not starting the next year having to do that first. Perfect example, we did talk about that we would have our, the public notice, the gardeners, those looking to do plots already done, so that we're not putting that together in the spring and then giving it to the city clerk, but that we already would have agreed on a draft. So ideally, our next meeting would be hopefully adopting, a draft that will be available, at the outset of next year, already in place. That will help describe and explain for people. And then the other part of the next meeting is also to have an election of officers then, instead of going into the new year, so that people know, and that too would be useful. So there's a lot that could be on the table for our November meeting. So we have discussed that. Are people still, I guess this is the new business part of it. People still think that that's a good way to go, to try to use this last November meeting as a real business meeting, really for the purposes of next season.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
So
It could be good to stress that in an email too, in case,
Yes. Yeah.
this one's like, if you're interested, super attend, because we're going to talk about all this stuff.
Yes, absolutely. Normally, of course, you say I just put the agenda and we fit things in, but here, this is very specific. I think to get people apprised that this is what we're doing in this one, because it's a little different. I agree with you, Sarah. Have a good description of it. So, is there anyone interested in helping to pull a draft together of what would be the 2023 public notice? And I don't know if it's helpful, but I can put our present one up. People want to look at that. I think everyone knows what we're talking about. It's essentially the application.
I could do it, but I can't remember. I know, Frank, you said you were typing up something at one point. Was it just a kind of like I don't know, like a statement of purpose or something?
Well, it was understanding that when you are in a community garden, there's the word community means that you actually participate in the health, not just the literal health of the garden, but the whole system of the community garden itself. And that would be something that I think we should include in this, just so you know what you're getting into.
Yeah.
Because some people, for them, are like, oh, all I gotta do is pay $20 and I can grow some stuff there. And they have water and tool shed. Cool. But there's a lot more involved in that, because you have to be involved in it. And it doesn't mean you have to just do everything, but you have to contribute to sustaining the whole operation. Because somebody doesn't come in from the outside and do it, it's done from the inside. And I think that's the important point that needs to be made.
So maybe including that in either this last part here, or at the very top of the application. So I could take on editing this, but I would maybe email you, Frank, or if you want to send me what you typed up and I could insert it. make sure that that part's included in this application.
Sarah, you came in late. I'm getting ready to leave the country for a couple of weeks, so something like that I'll get it to you when I get back. 'Cause-
That's great. I'm going to Kansas for a week. So
Ooh,
that's, yeah.
good for you.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
So your family.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. No one's vaccinated though in Kansas, so it's just
Oh, boy.
Well,
Yeah.
at this
An
point,
adventure.
if you are, then you're probably fine.
I hope so.
And I bet you someone there's vaccinated.
Yeah, my parents, I guess. So
Got a
there's that.
Democratic governor, you know.
Yeah,
Yes, they do.
that's true. We do some good stuff sometimes.
I'm sure.
So
Like the
that'd
Chiefs,
be-
they won the Super Bowl that one time.
That's right. There you go. They're being
They'll
pretty
be
good
back. They'll be
here.
back. Don't worry about it.
My wife's favorite quarterback.
He's cute,
Yeah,
and no one can
everyone-
argue with it.
What's not to
Brazil.
like?
She doesn't care about American football, but she likes Patrick Mahomes.
That's right.
Nothing not to like. Man. All right, so that'd be great. That sounds like something that we should be able to accomplish the next meeting. And then the other thing again is, the officers. I had mentioned at the very outset that that this is my third and final year, as the clerk, and I'm pleased that there are folks that have indicated, well, Sarah particularly, interest in this, but we will try to see if we can get that set and maybe and Mark and trying to get the donation garden set. So it'll be an opportunity. And if we are able to do all this stuff, we'll be in such better position next year
Right.
from the very outset. And the other thing that can be done next time is, with Margie, is really by then, again, we'll have a pretty firm handle on, what's available, what plots are available, what aren't, and really get a waiting list really in place. So it's just not this mad scramble, in the spring. Oh, who's coming back? Who's not coming back? And what do we got left? I mean, we can do a little better than that if we have a strong waiting list that we can plug people in.
Yeah.
So yeah.
There's just gonna, just with the earlier discussion with the 4 plots in C and D, or the 2 basically. But there's 4 plots involved. I think that's, as far as availability of plots, that's going to be a priority for those people if they want to move. If they agree to move, that we have a place for them to move to.
Oh yeah.
And then everything else works itself out.
Ted, were you going to say something?
Yeah. I'm just thinking again financially. If we lose 4 plots, we're going to lose some income. And if we have prices been going up, if we have some larger expenses that are anticipated for next year, Frank or Mark, if you're anticipating that, is there a need to increase what we ask each person to pay?
Yeah, it
And-
wouldn't be.
And
hard.
if so, what would be reasonable?
Oh, go up $5. What do you think?
I would think at least that to cover for 4 uncovered plots, and a little extra just to cover inflation for normal things that we've been doing.
That's a good point, Ted. Good points.
Okay, I had to step out real quick. Oh, what was the point, Ted?
Just in terms of the cost, whether or not we need to increase the amount each person is charged due to inflation of costs, your costs. We have some pretty steady costs, things that you have to pay for, and I'm sure the prices have been going up. And if you're taking four plots off the lot, you're cutting 4 plots income. And with the size of our budget, that can be considered a little bit significant. So just asking about increasing the amount, or at least some token increase in the amount. Mark suggested maybe $25 instead of the $20.
Well, I
We should think about that.
think we should. I don't think we should decide anything now, but I think we should definitely have a discussion about it. I think the whole, from the beginning, we've tried to keep it as low as we can, but it's been $20 for 10 years. So even if we raise the 25, okay, it's $25 for the next 10 years.
It's such a bargain. I mean, it's just really.
It is.
I don't think $5 or $10 is going to kill anybody, and if it does, I bet we could find a way to raise some money to.
Oh, well, I mean, if
If you
somebody couldn't
subsidize
afford
somebody.
$25, we'll give them $5 out of the petty cash and give them a garden.
Something like that, yeah. I'd even throw in some cash to help people, but
I
anyway.
mean, I don't know if you want to consider, say, even a $10 increase or whatever, but I think this should be decided because the amount is going to go in the application form.
Yes, correct. So when we get the
Right.
application finalized, that's part of it. We've had discussions in the past about this, but one thing I will do between now and when we need to make that decision, I'll just check with Barbara. I suspect strongly that we have the authority to set our own rates in that regard. But rather than assume that, I should just check with Barbara about whether or not.
Sure, good idea.
I
Good.
think
Good
you're
idea.
right. I think you're right, Stephen, and I think I think I don't know if the decision is ours. I'm assuming it is, and it should be because we know what our costs are. That's why we're a committee and we have a treasurer, but you think of all the other costs that we have, like hoses aren't cheaper, nozzles aren't cheaper. There's a bunch of stuff. Lumber's not cheaper. So, it's not a bad idea. I don't think I'd want to go to 30. There's something about having a 20 in front of it still.
All right. Well, we can pick up the-
$29.99.
But I'm not, I'm open to discussion.
Hey, Ted,
your.
Ted,
It's gotta be in increments of 5.
Okay. No, hold on. Ted's got a point. Ted, it's $29.99, but only if you call within the next 10 minutes.
That's right.
Oh,
It
you
goes
don't.
up to
I'm
give a
sorry.
half hour.
You're missing your opportunity.
And then you do the radio part where you got.
Yeah.
Should be a
All
part.
the-
You do
all the
get
fine
free water,
points.
you get free tools. It's like,
Oh, yeah.
it's a deal, man.
It's
You know,
convenient, the
it's-
hoses. I mean,
And
it's all.
that's the whole point, is for somebody who is not able to have a garden wherever they live, to go have a garden and grow food. That's the whole point of it. And it's not, you don't want it to be exclusive. You want it to be inclusive. It's a really important part of the mission of this garden. So, but I mean, we also have to be realistic. I mean, you can't sustain something if it's free. So,
Yeah.
and that's the whole point. It's got to have funding from somewhere, and
Yeah.
it's a nominal amount of money. So,
And I think we're highly competitive too. I think the other community gardens locally, definitely. I know in Amherst it was $35 and that was, 5 years ago. So, I don't know what Northampton charges. Margie could probably tell us that.
they'll base it on the city tax rate.
I don't know.
That would be about right for Amherst, $35.
Well, sometimes the alternative is if you don't have the income, you have to cut services, and there's certain things that we're providing, and we don't want to do that.
That's right.
Uh,
That's exactly right. So
Okay,
Barbara-
is there any other new business?
Nope.
If not,
Other than I'm gonna go take a shower.
okay, I think that we've got our tasks set out here. Our next meeting is Thursday, November 3rd, and 7 p.m. I will find out about whether it's Google Group again, whatever it is. So,
Let's do Zoom.
and is there a motion to adjourn?
Before we do that, you said the 3rd, Stephen.
Am I wrong about that?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it necessarily. I just feel there's so much stuff to do and think about and take care of. I would love to reserve the idea, if it's going to be our last meeting, to maybe do it on the 10th. I mean, I know we do it the first Thursday. I don't know.
Yeah.
I would like to do that also. I'm having cataract surgery that afternoon on the
Well, it
3rd.
looks like the 10th is Columbus Day, though.
What's
Is
that?
better? I think
What?
the
No,
10th
no,
is
no, no.
Columbus Day.
No,
That's
November 10th.
Oh,
November
10th.
10th.
Oh, you're right.
That is the memorial of the sinking of the Edmund Fitzgerald, though.
Okay.
Well, then we better not do it then.
Either that or we have to sing.
I'm so impressed you know that.
Okay,
So yeah, I just want to throw that out there. Because if it's a last meeting, it'll give us a little more time to kind of get all our ducks in a row. We'll know stuff be more about the city water shut off and Broadbrook and all that kind of thing.
so the 10th, that's for sure.
It sounds like it works for everyone. Is that true?
Yeah, I would certainly prefer it.
Yeah, I would love that.
Okay.
No, I
Good
see.
job.
No, I think Veterans Day is on a Friday or a Monday this year. So it's not a holiday, I don't think. But it's not a bad idea to
Yeah.
figure that out.
It's the 11th.
And it's 2 days after Election Day. How are we going to be feeling?
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
We'll see.
We still got the garden.
Yes, I'd pay $100.
Right. You got it.
All right, y'all.
Oh, Eric's just updated us on what November 5th is. Doesn't matter. We're not meeting on the 5th. Okay, so now I'll pose a motion to adjourn.
Oh, Guy Fawkes. I love Guy Fawkes.
Sarah, is that you making that motion?
I was saying,
Or-
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, Sarah's made the motion. Is it second? Who
Second.
seconded? Ted seconded. Okay. Okay, all in favor of adjourning?
Hi.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. So at 8:40 p.m., we stand adjourned.
Bon voyage,
y'all.
Frank.
Good.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.